Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cryptic Conversations. I'm your host, Tunes from the Crypt, and we have another very special episode in store today. Today's guest is a man named Daniel Jackson, also known as Spirit Medium Daniel. Daniel Jackson is a spirit medium, author, and podcast host for Beyond the Veil. Daniel has been gifted with the ability to communicate with archangels and spirit, and with this information, he guides and assists others to fulfill their spiritual path. Daniel's main goal is to teach people about their reason for existence and to help them to become a better version of themselves. It is with intention that he operates out of a spirit of love and compassion. Daniel's been able to help many people in finding their true path, and with remarkable results, he's helped countless souls find their way, unraveling life's mysteries. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So to kind of kick things off, I always like to ask the guests, their backstory. So talk to me about your early life. Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? And what was your family like?
Family was pretty good. I had two brothers and a sister, mom and dad, everything. We lived in a town in New Jersey called National Park. We were right along the Delaware River across from Philadelphia. But in that town, there was a battlefield there. We as kids called it the monument because it had this big tall monument in the middle of it. And this is where the Hessians fought. And there was a little hospital there. So in and around that area of that battlefield, a lot of the homes around there were experiencing spirit a lot, as well as our own, to the point where there was one morning when my sister was getting ready for school and my mom was helping her in the bathroom and doing her hair, and they stepped in front of a door that had a full-length mirror on it. And when they did, there was another woman standing in the mirror. She had a colonial outfit on. There was one time when my two brothers and I were watching TV, and my sister's room was 2 flights up, and this is back in the 70s, and she had a record player. So back then you had to put the record up and flip the switch and drop the record down. When we were watching TV, something turned the record player on, but the crazy part was it was switching records. So it was picking records up and taking them off and putting other records on.
Wow.
So this happened quite often. We would all be sitting around, for dinner or breakfast, what have you, and a glass would just come flying across the table, or ashtray or something like that. But we just experienced it a lot. But after a while, you kind of got used to it. We would always see these three shadows in my sister's room on the wall. There was always you could tell it was two men and a woman. So we just experienced it so much. There's just people would ask in the same way, how do you feel about that? And I would say, it's like when we're kids and our mom and dad feed us green beans, and then 30 years later you like green beans. Why? Because you get used to it. You just do. So yeah, I even had a kid come over to my house one time because he wanted to experience it, and I was like, I don't know if you want to do that, but we were around 10 or 12 years old, something like that, and he came over and nothing was really going on, and then we were sitting at the kitchen table eating some sandwiches, and then the stereo just turned on, and then after it turned on, the volume just rolled right up and came up, and he was like, "Oh my God!" And he ran out of the house, and he would always tell that story to other kids at school. But I would laugh to myself because I've seen him turn whiter than any ghost I've ever seen. It became every day. It just became every day. You just got used to it, and
Gotcha.
And it just progressed. Eventually, my mom and dad and I, my one brother, they put the house up for sale, and my brother and I, my mom and dad, moved down to Delaware. But at that point, I was about 17. And I was the only one who was continuing to see things, but I saw things.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one else saw what I saw.
Yeah. So I feel like, in this line of work, these kind of discussions, sometimes, oftentimes you're going to deal with, skeptical people. And I want to mention to the listeners, anybody who's feeling skeptical, I think that's a good thing. It's good to be skeptical. But I also want to kind of plant this seed of knowledge, open your mind to the fact that, have you ever thought that maybe that there's people in this world that are just a little more sensitive than you are, so they're able to, pick up on these things? Have you ever thought that, And so I'd also like to ask you, so you mentioned the battlefield. Do you know what battlefield that was?
Um, I'm really not sure.
But
I
it was
just
in
know
Delaware,
this was in New Jersey.
New
It was
Jersey.
directly across the river from Philadelphia. There was a naval yard in Philadelphia where they fixed all these big Navy ships, and it was directly across from there. But it was in a little town called National Park.
Okay.
It's still there.
Yeah. So
They,
growing,
my sister told me about a year ago they did a big dig there, and they found
uh,
hundreds of bodies buried there. I mean, back in the war times, of course, they're not going to bury one body at a time, but they found hundreds of
oh
bodies all
wow.
in one spot. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
So so at this point, you're kind of telling your story, like growing up as a kid and into your adult life, like you've always been like kind of aware of this realm, these spirits or
oh
whatever.
yeah.
So can you share with us, the moment when you first realized that you had the ability to communicate with spirit?
Well, there was a moment. I've seen spirit, but I've seen it everywhere I go. But there was a time. It was right before I was turning 50 years old. Um, my wife went away on vacation for 2 weeks, and then for those 2 weeks, I saw everything you can imagine that was in a scary movie in my house. I saw green and red mist pouring out of the walls. I saw little skulls come out of the walls, floating around with red eyes and fangs. Um, I saw 7 foot skeletons walking around the house. Every night that I would go to the bed, I'd lay down in bed and I would see this cloud come out of the corner of the room. One night it'd be red, the next one would be blue, the next one would be yellow, the next one would be green. Then the next night it'd be red with black stripes, blue with black stripes, green with black stripes. Um, I saw a cloud form above my bed, and then it opened up like a dark window, and then I saw these two skeleton arms come out. But when the arms come out, it didn't have any hands, and it just came out and then it pulled the whole body out, and then the skull was had these big eyes, was staring around the room, looking at me. There was one time when my wife and I, because we were having so much, when she came back, I she told me about her adventures, but then I told her about mine, and she was a little freaked out because I'd told her stuff before, but this was pretty extreme. And then, but it was about 3 days after that she started experiencing some of the same things. And then we had this one camera at our house because her son was my stepson was not bringing some good people to the home, so we were making sure we'd see what he was doing, and it had night vision. We hooked it up one time because I just wanted to see if I could catch something. I went to bed, and when I laying in bed about 10 minutes, something came up and touched me. I thought it was my wife. And when I rolled over, there was this big 8 foot skeleton standing there with his hands on my hips. And I was like, what do you want? And I actually sat up out of bed. And I said, what do you want from me? What are you doing here? Why are you bothering me? And it finally, it just kept moving backwards and then disappeared into the wall. I went out to get my wife and said, "We got to turn that camera on. Can you see?" Because it was hooked to her phone. And she said, "I can't get nothing on here. Let me go check it." And we went in to check the camera. Whatever was there turned it off. So
Wow, wow, that's very interesting.
yeah,
So I mean, yeah, I mean, for in my life, I don't know, I've never seen any skeletons or any green mist or skulls or anything, but I do definitely believe in, in energy and
yeah.
shadow beings and stuff like that.
I
So
saw
who
the Hat Man. I
I
saw the Hat Man during that point.
I've heard of the Hat Man as well,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I know now he's not in spirit.
Hmm.
He comes from a different dimension, and he comes here for a specific reason. I see him now like about once a month, and he comes and talks to me, and he's here because in his dimension, his the people there can do not have any connection to spirit whatsoever. So he comes here and tries to find out how we do it. It's just I've talked to
Hmm.
him before and said that he knows. He knows
Yeah.
now that I said I can't teach it to you. You either have it or you don't. And if you don't have it, you won't have it. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
And so, what was the turning point in your life that led you to fully embrace your gift and pursue a path as an intuitive reader?
Well, I sought out help with this. We tried going on the internet. We tried doing all the things that it says on the internet. Pour salt around the room and put the crosses up. Well, the only thing that happens when you pour salt around a room is your room gets salty. That's it, because that stuff doesn't work. Crosses don't work. Cross is a form of punishment. So how are you going to make something horrible go away with a form of punishment? You're not going to do it. So I had a paranormal group come to my house, and when they came to my house, when they first got there and they showed up in their little van, I didn't want to I didn't want to be that kind of famous because I saw their insignia and I thought, everyone else in the neighborhood's going to think they got poltergeists going on right next to their home. Unfortunately for them, they did, but oh well. So they came to my home. Um, it was, I think it was, they had a girl taking pictures, a guy who was taking video. One guy was just walking around asking questions, and then leader of the group, and he was doing different tests throughout the house. And one of the tests they had me do was, well, they put these little boxes up, put these little round bulbs on it and wires sticking up a little. And I said, "What's that?" And he wiped his hand on my couch and waved his hand above it and said, and they all lit up. And I was like, "Whoa, what's that?" He's like, "Oh, well, spirit produce, static electricity." I was like, "Oh, okay." And so they set them up all around, and they set a bunch of them by my bedroom door. And they said, "Could we go try something in your bedroom?" I said, "Sure." I walked through the bedroom door, and every one of those things lit up. When they
Wow.
walked through, nothing. Every time I walked past them, they lit up. They took some pictures of me walking around the house with one of the members or by myself. And every picture that had me in it, I had 15 to 20 light orbs completely surrounding me. When we went into the bedroom, they wanted me to lay down in bed and pretend I'm sleeping. And then they were going to come in and bring a spirit box in there. So I did that. This was all at nighttime. And when they came in with the spirit box, they turned it on and it started spitting out words. It said Wendy, Michael, Paul, Helen, unique, energy, special, light. And then they started asking it questions. And I remember one of the questions being, they asked, "Are you here to harm Daniel?" And then that computer voice came through and said, "No, we are not here to harm Daniel. We love Daniel. We love Daniel's light. Daniel is the light." When it said Daniel is the light, I was like, what is that supposed to mean?
Oh, wow.
That was strange. So they left out of the room. I went back out. They were in this big huddle, and I said to my wife, I said, "What's going on?" She said, "I don't know. Something's strange they're talking about." So they turned around, and I looked at them like, "Hey, did you get all that?" I mean, that was pretty cool because I was just happy for the fact that there were other people there witnessing what I was seeing. And so he said, "Yeah, we got all that." But he said, "There's an issue, Mr. Jackson." I said, "What's the issue?" There was nothing bad with it. He said, "No, not that." He says, "But whenever we use the spirits box, we can only get it to spit out a couple words. It never says sentences, and it never says sentences clearly for 10 minutes because they had a conversation. Every time they asked a question, it got answered that quick. They didn't wait. There was no lag time, nothing. And they said that never happens. And I was like, "Oh, well, what are we going to do?" And he's like, "Well, we got to figure this out." Because I mean, they were following me around doing all kinds of stuff. They got all kinds of information. So they left, they said they'll be back in 2 weeks. They never came back. It took me 6 weeks to get a hold of them. And by the time I did get a hold of them, he said that he can't get the team back together. He said, once they got on my front lawn, they all quit. He said they're too afraid to come back into my house. What
Oh,
as
wow.
as much information they got from my house, he said it usually takes 10 or 15 homes to get that, not just one.
And that was your house in Arizona?
In Delaware.
Delaware. Oh, okay.
Yeah, with my now wife. And
Mm.
then so at that point I said, so you're not going to come back and help me?" And he's like, "There's nothing I can do." I mean, he said, "I don't even want to come back in your house." I was like, "All right, well, you're not helping me." So then I sought out mediums and I found five mediums. None of them knew each other. Every one of them told me the same story about me. And it was one in particular that I talked to her and she told me to come to her show because she said in this way, she said, "I want you to see how I do it." Now, I didn't know what that meant at the point, but I just bought some tickets and my wife and I went. I didn't tell her I was coming, nothing. We walked in the door. As soon as we walked in the door, this lady was standing on the stage. She eyeballed me right up, looked at me, and then followed me as I went through the room and watched me sit down. And my wife turned around and said, "That was kind of creepy." I said, "What's that about?" "Did you tell her you were coming?" I said, "No, I didn't. No, I just bought some tickets. Here we are." So she does this little show and she ends up reading eight people. She reads me. I'm the second one. The way she does it, though, was that she didn't just pick somebody out of the crowd. She said a spirit would come through and show her things. And if this resonates with you, please stand up and say who it is. And And she talked about a guy named Robert, but he goes by Bob, and he wears suits and wears flannel shirts and t-shirts, and and I stood up and I said, I think that's me. And she said, "Well," I said, "My dad's Bob," but he goes, his name's Robert, and he wears flannel shirts and t-shirts, and she said, he's showing me um, that he fell down, and that's how he passed away. And I said, "Yeah, my dad fell down in the basement and died from blunt force trauma. It moved his brainstem."
Oh
And she
wow.
said, "Now he's showing me what looks like a school bus, prison bars, and looks like somebody wearing scrubs, like a doctor with a stethoscope around his neck."
Hmm.
And I said, "Yeah, that's me. I just went back to school for medical records, and I work in prison, and I wear scrubs." So after this reading, um, she also said something about who is Sarah, and I said, "What do you mean, Sarah?" And she said, "The Sarah, the woman who had to make the big decision for your dad to pass away." And I said, "I have a niece, Sarah," and she said, "No, it's a woman." I said, "Oh." I said, my mom's middle name is Sarah." I said, "It was my mom who had to make the big decision to have the plug pulled." So I knew it was real.
Wow. Yeah.
It was too much.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna say for you, like, in the beginning you were like Bob, and so a guy named Bob who wears flannels, and people could, like I said, the skeptics, right? Like,
could be
oh, well,
anybody.
that's a very general statement, but look at all the details that you provided after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So at the end of the show, my wife and I walked down and spoke to her. I said, "Hey, how are you?" She says, "Good." I said, "My name's Daniel Jackson." She said, "Oh, I spoke to you on the phone a couple of weeks ago." I said, "Yes." And then she looked at me like a teacher and she said, "Don't go anywhere. I want you to stay here. Wait till everybody leaves. You and I need to have a talk." And I was like, "Oh shit, like I'm seven, like I'm in trouble," you know? And but after everyone's leaves, she says, "So you're having an issue, are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm having an issue." And I told her about the skulls and all that stuff, and she said, "So you see a lot of spirit?" And I said to her, "Look, lady," I said, "it's like being in a room with 1,000 people and nobody leaves and more just keep coming in." I said, "I don't ever not see them, ever, no matter where I go." And she said, "You have an ability to see them, but there's a reason why you're seeing so many." I said, "What would the reason be?" She said, "They're just coming to you." And I said, "Why would they come to me?" She says, "Because you have a light that's brighter than other people. A lot of mediums." And she started talking about all that stuff. And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, you're just an untrained medium. You just haven't had any training yet. But you could get that, but it's up to you to decide if you want to do that." She said, "But I saw you walk into the room. I could feel you on the outside of that door. And then when you walked in the room, I saw you and I just watched you." I said, "Yeah, my wife and I thought that was kind of creepy." And she said, "But you don't look like regular people because I'm also see spirit. So to me, you look like what spirits see." And I said, "What do they see?" She said, "You look like a ball of light." She said, "You look like a figure of light and you're just walking around." And that's what they're attracted to. And I was like, "Why are they attracted to that?" She said, "Because they think that you're the light into heaven. And that's why they're coming up to you. And they want to know if you can help them." I said, "How am I supposed to help them?" She said, "Cross them over. Because the ones that are seeing you are the ones who have not crossed over into the light. They're here, in this lower energy realm, but what we would call earthbound, but they're just here walking around. And they think that you're the light into heaven, so maybe you can help them." And I said, "What the hell am I supposed to do with that?" She said, "You need to have a talk with God and decide what you're going to do." "What am I going to do?" She said, "You're either going to become a medium and get trained how to do it, or you're just going to let it go." And I just looked at her. I was like, and I was staring at my wife like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "I know you don't want this to go away." I said, "Well, it's been part of my life, my entire life. It doesn't really bother me, but the stuff I'm seeing now has been pretty, kind of scary." She said, "Well, you need to make a big decision. You have to have a talk with God and tell him you're either going to do this or you're not." So my wife and I left and we went home. We were talking about it, and I said, I guess I'll go talk to God. I was at what you would refer to as being at rock bottom. We literally thought we were going crazy. I didn't know what else to do. I even tried to call a priest to come here and do a exorcism. They don't do that, and it's a bunch of bullshit anyway. It's not. It's a lie. So because spirit cannot possess your body. That's a bunch of bullshit. Uh, but I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know where else to turn. So I said, you know what, honey? I said, I guess I'll have a talk with God. I looked at her and said, how do I have a talk with God? And she said, how do you talk with him any other time? You just do. I mean, she really puts things into perspective for me. So I just said, all right, well, I'll go in the bedroom and I'll turn out the lights and I'll just whatever. So I went in there and basically I said, you know, if this is what you want me to do, God, I'll do whatever you want me to do, but I can't figure this out on my own. I need some help. I need some help from somebody or something. I just need some help to do this. And if you will help me, I'll do whatever you want. I'll go wherever you want. I'll be whatever you want. I'll be wherever you want me to be. And I was just willing to do anything to get some help. And so I came out of the bedroom and said to my wife, I said, all right, that's it. We'll see what happens, you know, because I didn't know what else to do. And then everything the next day started to change. And a lot of those skulls and stuff went away. And then I started seeing faces. But then I started seeing other beings in my room. And it turns out those other beings are what we refer to as archangels. They're not men with wings and shields and swords. They're not by any means. So I
Wow.
see them, and now I communicate with them. I get touched on my face for yes and no. Above my eyebrow is yes, or on my forehead is yes, and then it feels like a tear running down my face, and that's no. But then they also put information into my mind, and now that information is so constant. It's my own thought now, but it's combined of theirs and mine together, and they're just putting it in me so I can bring it out. When I was doing this in the very beginning, when I finally moved forward with this and said yes, that information was coming in 5% of the time of the day. Now it comes in 90% of the day.
Wow. Yeah, there's
I'm no longer me.
there's a lot to unpack there, so
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, can you define what exactly are archangels? I know growing up, to me the concept of angels was always like in the Bible and stuff, and it always seemed like fairy tale kind of,
That's
fantasy
good because you
fantasy.
got that right because the Bible is a fairy tale. The
Yeah,
Bible's,
it always
yeah.
seemed like that. And but as I get older, to me, I believe in, guardian angels and stuff like that. To me, the way I see it is almost like, higher dimensional energy,
Yes.
higher dimensional beings. So
Yes.
can you define, yeah, what are archangels?
Well, I'll take a myth away for you first. Everyday people do not have guardian angels or angels walking around with them. Specifically, you would only have an angel with you because you are performing a specific test that God wants you to do, and you are very aware of it. And you are helping masses of people, helping in a very large, massive way. Um, so you would actually have spiritual guides that are with you, and spirit guides are people and animals, but people who have crossed over, who have fulfilled their purpose, and don't have to come back physically into a body again. But when you go back into heaven, you become a beautiful bright white light again, and you want to do good things. So they come here and help us to guide us through this world, so that we can fulfill our purpose as well, and we can go home. And fulfilling your purposes, we're here to help each other just for the sake of helping, not because you can, but because you should. That's your purpose. It's not becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a basketball player. You're going to fulfill your purpose by being one thing, human. But these beings, when I see archangels around me now, and how many archangels do I have with me? All of them. No one has what I have. No one. I try to explain things to other mediums. I was at this show yesterday, and they just look at me with a deer in headlights because they don't see what I see. They don't experience what I experience. No one does. So I just kind of don't tell them as much because they don't get it. Um, when I see them in front of me, completely surrounding me, I see 8-foot praying mantises standing in front of me because that's what they are. I see some that look like birds, some that look like reptiles, some that I can't even describe to you because they're not human or humanoid whatsoever. I don't know what they are. I can't, there's nothing I can equate it to describe it. If you would see these 8-foot praying mantises standing in front of you, you would run away because you would be scared of that. But the names that we give them are not their real names because we cannot pronounce their names because the way that they communicate is through what we call telepathy, through thought, pure thought. we have voice boxes and we can't pronounce their names. So we just give them names so we can identify them. I get touched on my face by archangels. In the very beginning, it was 2 touches, one here and one here above my eyebrows. Now it's 52. And I know all the names of who they are and who's touching me at every moment. And it happens all day long. It's happening right now as I'm talking to you. They're touching me on my eyebrows. It never goes away. It never turns off. I don't ever not see spirit throughout my day. When I look into anything, look at walls, or I was showing someone, explaining it to them yesterday. I said, "What color is that wall?" He said, "Oh, it's white." I said, "To you, it's white." I see white and blue. I see a mist of blue in that wall. When I see that in everything, I open my eyes and I see that. That's the veil. I don't ever not see it. And it's when I concentrate on it, I see them in there. Like there's a gentleman standing right in front of me now in my room. He's got white hair. His name is Clifford. That's different. Um, and but he's got white hair, but he's got brown eyebrows. He's got brown eyes. Um, he's got a little bit of a mustache on his upper lip. He died in 1847 of pneumonia. So yeah, it never goes away.
Okay.
I wish I could make it up. I mean, even yesterday, I was at an event doing readings at the psychic healing fair, and once in a while, I pick up one of like somebody who has an ability. Yesterday, 7 people, and every time they sat in front of me, as soon as I go to touch their hand to get in tune with them, I get told, and every single time, I said, "Wait a minute, I need to ask a question here." So I would talk to them, and then I'd turn right back around and I'd say, "So were you waiting that you were going to tell me, or would you want to wait for me to tell you that you have an ability?" And every one of them started bawling, crying. Because I'm the fucking shizzle dizzle. I don't play around. And I say it like it is. And I tell it like it is. And I tell the truth. Because it just is.
Yeah,
I mean,
you were
you could go to that show that I just went to yesterday, and everybody there will tell you who I am.
yeah.
Because every vendor there came up to me yesterday and said, "Oh my God, you were busy." I said, "Yeah, I'm always busy." Because people who tell the truth are busy.
Yeah. Yeah, you were messaging me telling me the same thing, were you going to
And
wait
you and
for
I never met, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, that was pretty spot on. So I'd like to ask you though, so what is your view on this reality? So with all of this, with all of your abilities and this knowledge, what is your view on this reality, and what is the meaning of life in our existence?
The meaning of life and existence is we're here to help each other just for the sake of helping. We are here to take care of each other. It's the real reason why Jesus was here, and Jesus was here. But Jesus is no different than anyone else. We are all divine souls because we are all created from God, from a part of Him. So everyone is a divine soul. We don't do anything wrong. We just live in a world that has people who control us and has laws and all that shit. But we force people basically to turn into these horrible people that they are by society. So uh, but we're here to help each other. He was here to let us know that we could all help each other. We could live together as free men and women. We didn't have to have power and control. We could share everything in the world because there's enough of everything to do that. But the people who are in control, kings and queens, because that's who wrote the Bible, and religion, they saw this happening with him and they said, "We can't have this guy on the streets. He's taking our power and our money away from us, our taxes and all that." So they put him on a cross and tortured and murdered him. And they did that to make an example out of him. He did not die for your sins because you don't sin. Sin is you breaking their rules of religion. That's what you're doing. So if you don't follow their rules, who gives a shit, right? But uh, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to take each other. We're here to take care of each other. We're here to learn lessons. But everything in your life is a lesson. It's not a good lesson or a bad lesson. There's no mistakes. There's no right and wrong. There's no epic failures. There's only what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And if it doesn't work for you, quit doing it. I mean, if you walk through a doorway and there's a nail in the floor and you trip over the nail, how do you learn the lesson? You go get a hammer, you bang it back in. Not everybody does that. People trip 4 or 5 times. Some people trip throughout their entire lives because they're not good at learning. So, get better at learning. But it's fulfilling your purpose, getting to that point in your life because you got to get through your lessons so you can get to those places in your life so you can help people who really need it. It's going to be in a physical way where someone would walk up to you and say, "Excuse me, sir, I'm lost. Can you help me find my way?" Because fulfilling your purpose is helping someone to do something they cannot do for themselves, or you're helping them to figure it out for themselves. And you're either going to help them do that, or you're going to turn around and go, "I hate people, screw that bullshit." So, no. And every time that you do that, you're putting yourself on the incorrect path. And then you just make a return trip because God doesn't punish us. We punish ourselves by the choices that we make. So yeah, I mean, there's a term that says, "God bless you." Well, he did. He put us here, but he wants us to figure out the rest. And that's what he wants us to do, because God is not going to ban us to a horrible place for something that he gave us. He gave us all free will to make decisions throughout our lives, to figure things out, to learn things. Because if God is all that powerful, he would know, he would think there's a possibility that we might do something bad with those choices. And if he did think that, don't you think he would have put a limit on that free will? But he didn't. So no one gets banned to hell or anything like that. That's religion telling you that you're going to do that because they want to tell you how to live your life the way they want you to live it and give them 10%. And how did they know about 10%? Because they were kings and queens.
Oh
And
yeah,
so, yeah, it's all
yeah,
bullshit. But
yeah.
this reality has been created for us by those people who are in control because they don't want us to pay attention to what's actually going on in this world. That's why we have so much of this child trafficking and all this other bullshit going on, war and all that stuff, because they're just trying to keep us occupied. That's why we play football and baseball and basketball and all that. So we're not paying attention. Wake the fuck up. That's what people need to do, but they're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I love that. I love that answer, and yeah, that's like I was telling my parents, it's like I told them, I was like, I'll watch the Super Bowl, like I'll watch one game, a year, but I'm not going to be up to date the Rams played this week. Oh, did you see the
Right.
game? And no, I'm not worried about that. There's other stuff to study and learn about. There's other stuff going on. That's a distraction, you know what I mean?
Way
And
more
how
stuff
how
going
many
on.
people how many people live their lives just they know about the Rams game, they know about the Dodgers or
Yeah.
the Lakers, they know
I
who
when
played.
that happens, I turn off and I don't even pay attention or talk to those people. I mean,
Yeah.
if people want the truth about things, aliens, yes. I mean, what do you think archangels are? They're aliens. These are beings of a higher consciousness, but these ones
Yeah.
no longer need any bodies. But yes, we did not come from Adam and Eve or Adam and Steve, whichever you prefer. We came from them. Before we came here to this planet, we were at another planet. You've heard of it. It's called Mars. I mean, they just did a study on Mars where they took some of the samples of the dirt there, and they found an element within that dirt, and that element only occurs during nuclear explosion. We were there first. We're here now. But this place is coming to an end. We're going to have to go to another planet and try this all over again. It's called The New Beginning. It's the title of my book.
Yeah.
I didn't just come up with that. I mean, the end of my book it doesn't say the end in it. It says 2332 because that's the end. But it's also the new beginning. Now, I'm not by any means a mathematician. They told me how to write the book to write the book. Spirit did. They showed it to me in a message during my meditation. I had no intentions of writing a book. They gave me 25 messages to put at the end of the book. When I submitted everything from the book to the editor, she sent those messages back and said they don't need to be edited. I mean, the rest of the book need to be edited because my fucking grammar sucks. But she said, I can't figure out why these don't need to be edited. I mean, you wrote them. I said, I wrote it down, but it didn't come from me. I said, it came from a perfect place. So,
Wow. Yeah.
so I, but yeah, we come from them. We're here because of them, but we're here to figure this out and try to be better people. I mean, they're
Yeah.
better. I mean, look what they're doing. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the whole, 2332, again, I'm not a mathematician, but this is the way it is. You take the 2332, you take the 23 and you add it together, it makes 5. You take the 32, a 3 plus 2, you add it together, that makes 5. You add 5 and 5 together, it makes 10. And you turn a 10 around, and what's it make? 0, 1. So the end of this world will be the beginning of a new world and a new place and a new existence. I,
Could be.
there's no way I could come up with that. I'm, a high school graduate, just barely.
Hmm.
They just
Yeah.
told it to me.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, before that, reminds me of Billy Carson. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Billy Carson and
Don't
for
know. Don't
Forbidden.
follow. I don't follow anybody. I don't even read books. I've read 3 books in my life, and mine's one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, Billy Carson with Forbidden Knowledge. I love his stuff, definitely check him out. He talks about Mars and, yeah, he's doing a lot of great work as well. And man, like I really hope this is not the end of the world. I'm going to do my best to try and, help educate people, empower people and try to change this world, but if it happens, like you said, it's a new beginning, we're entering this new age. We're entering the new age of Aquarius and Elon Musk is trying to get us to Mars, so we'll see what
I
happens.
would not pay attention to Elon Musk. Elon Musk was was bitching and moaning about AI, and then the moment he was done bitching about AI, he comes out with an AI robot. Elon Musk is another one of the controllers. Bill
Uh-oh.
Gates, controller. This is what they do. They have money and power. Bill
Yeah.
Gates doesn't isn't even in isn't even an elected official, but he's writing law. Why is he doing
Yeah.
that? Bill
Yeah.
Gates owns all of he's the largest landowner and farmland owner in the United States.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I heard about that.
I mean, Bill Gates when they were having, so-called trouble with the supply chain, you couldn't get baby formula. And then all of a sudden, Bill Gates had this brand new company that just came out that's got synthetic baby formula. How did that happen? And why was he able to do that? And why was it able to all of a sudden all these other baby food places, everything was contaminated, but all of a sudden he comes out with one? How did he know that was going to happen? Because they cause it.
Yeah.
Right. So I would not pay attention to Bill Gates. I would not pay attention to the WFE or the WHO. I would not pay attention to any of those people. Klaus Schwab, any of them. They are the controllers of this world. And it's they who tell you to eat bacon one day, but they say don't do it the next day. You know what they need to do? They need to shut the hell up and we need to stop listening. We need to stand up and take the power back. That's what we need to do.
Yeah. I've been looking into all that as well. And I try not to think about it and get overwhelmed with it,
Right.
but yeah, the people out there, if you're not familiar, look into the World Economic Forum, look into
Yeah.
the World Health Organization. They have their summit every year. I think it's in Davos, Switzerland or whatever. And they're really trying to create a one world government, a one world
Correct.
currency. And what happens when that happens? I mean, then it should, I don't know, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they're trying to turn everything. That's why when in 2020 you would go to a store and they say, "Oh, we're running short of change, so we can't use change." They weren't running short. I mean, everybody knows they got a bank at sitting at their home, a big plastic jug full of change. They're not running short. They just don't want anybody to use regular money because they want you to use electronic money so
Yeah.
that they can. My wife, uh, in 2020, uh, she was trying to get an app on her phone, and but it just wouldn't go through. So we were out at the Walmart trying to get some food and she used her debit card and it wouldn't work. So we kept trying. And so I used mine and it was fine. She called up her bank. She had to make an appointment in 2020. We went over there and she said, I can't get my card to work. And they said, oh, well, there's this app you tried to buy for your phone. It was overseas and it's not on our list. So we turned her card off. They did that twice. They turned it off. Why do they want you to have electronic money? So they can tell you what you're going to buy and what you're not going to buy.
Yeah, because when you have
Right. Control.
cash, you have power, right? But when you
Right.
have when you have electronic currency and they have the ability to just turn it off, then you can't buy, your food, your groceries, what you need. That's
Right.
power. That's power. Yeah.
That's control. Absolutely.
Oh
So
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't let them do it. Yeah, you just got to quit paying attention to them. But spirit does not want this for us. They want us to turn around. They want us to change, but they know it's going to be a hard road. But nothing is going to be easy. No one can go to Staples and get the easy button. It just doesn't work that way because if life was meant to be easy, what would be the point of living if you were given everything in life? You wouldn't appreciate the things that you do have. So they know it's
Yeah.
going to be hard, but they know we got to stand up and do something.
Yeah. That's like, have you seen that movie that just came out, Leave the World Behind on Netflix?
No, but I'll check it out.
Check that one out, man. They always say that they leave these subliminal messages in the movies.
Oh, they do.
And the movie Leave the World Behind, it has what's her name in it? Julia Roberts or I get them confused. But anyways, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are the producers on the film,
Oh, of
and they're
course.
and basically the movie is about, like the power grid goes out and like we none of us have electricity and then people are panicking, and it's funny you're talking about Elon Musk and then it was like everybody has these Teslas and I got a Tesla and everybody has these Teslas and they just can't get around anymore because they don't have
Right.
access to electricity and
Right.
I don't know that. Yeah.
Right. So is it really a Tesla car? It's got a big giant battery in it, and everything that's inside of that battery is bad for nature. So how much of a Tesla car would actually be a car that ran on free
Free
energy?
energy. Yeah.
Yes, that's a real Tesla
That's a
car.
real Tesla. Yeah.
All you did was buy an $80,000 car. Who
Yeah.
cares?
This is marketing, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So I'd like
Yeah.
to
This is
ask,
what they want us to do.
yeah. So I'd like to ask you, you know, so seeing as you named your podcast Beyond the Veil, what does the veil mean to you?
The veil is the difference between going to heaven and not going to heaven. Staying earthbound, this lower energy realm. And when I say I see spirit, I don't just see people. I see dogs, cats, horses, cows, fish, other beings from other worlds. I see everything. I see into other dimensions. I'm able to remote view. I don't have any control of it. It just turns on. I see other interdimensional beings. But the veil is the thin line between going into the light and not going into the light. And as many people that do cross over into that light, there's that many people and other beings and animals and stuff that don't. There's no such thing as a rainbow bridge for animals. I see lots of dogs and cats and horses and cows walking around because they just didn't know they died. There's a lot of spirit who just are around me. They either talk to me or around me. Now, that's not who I get my information from to do readings or anything like that or anything else I do, but they do talk to me. And a lot of them don't even know they're dead because when you step up out of your body, you're still you. They just don't understand it. So, but they see that light, and sometimes they're afraid to go into that light because they think they're going to be judged by God, or, or, or they just feel they're a horrible person, or someone told they were horrible, and they're just afraid to go in. But yeah, it's a thin line. Now the ones they can all see each other. So the ones who are in heaven can see these ones here. The ones that are down in earthbound can see the ones in heaven. But it is when you cross over and if you go into the light, whatever age you die at, if you die at 30 years old, you won't, if you have to come back again, you won't come back for another 80 years. Or if you die under the age of 30, you would come back 8 years later, all for the simple reason so you're not recognized. That's all. But, uh, but those who cross over may or may not come back. The ones who stay earthbound don't do anything. They're just there and they're just there forever. But
Okay.
that forever is not going to last very long because once this place comes to an end, God's going to come back one more time and give them one more opportunity to cross over. And if they don't, their spirits, their souls will actually die.
Okay. That's
And I
a
try to tell them that, but it's just a thin uh, vortex of energy that is there, and those who are here earthbound can cross over any time. They just have to want to do it. But when you do that, you once you walk into that light, you're absolutely washed away of all your pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, all that stuff, and it's all about positivity and love and stuff like that. Whereas here, earthbound spirits. They still hold on to their pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish. They even actually still experience pain. So if another spirit were to walk up to you and smack you in the face, you still feel it because you held on to that, because you chose to be where you are.
uh-huh. Okay, that's a perfect segue into the next question, you know, so what is your view on the afterlife, you know, and in your view, how come some spirits seem to fully cross over while some seem to remain earthbound or stuck?
But there's many reasons, many choices. Again, they feel so when you pass away, you're basically going to stand up out of your body, look down, see your body, and go, don't need that anymore. You take a step to the left, you look to the right, and there's a light that's going to turn on for you. That is your personal light. Everybody gets one. And you either walk in or you don't. It's that simple. But you being you, let me ask real quick. So you've been here 28 times. You're on your 28th lifetime, meaning you've had 27 other lifetimes, meaning you've had 27 other sets of moms and dads, brothers and sisters, dogs and cats, and 27 other astrological signs that mean absolutely horseshit because your body's born, your soul is not. And but when you wake up out of your body and you realize you've been here a total of 28 times, you might look at that light and think to yourself, if I go into that light again, I might have to come back. And maybe you don't want to. Because maybe you after getting all the perfect memories of all your lifetimes, you're going to know that some of your lifetimes were pretty hard. And maybe you don't want to do that again. So a lot of times they just stay here. Or a lot of times they had a traumatic type of death that we think is traumatic, and they see that light and they are just afraid to go into it. Because again, we've been sitting here talking to each other and yelling at each other for thousands of years, telling each other, oh, you can't go in there. Only us religion can get you in there, and you're a sinner, and God's gonna judge you, and all of that. And people believe it. And then they don't go in because they're just afraid. So they don't go. So they remain here. or again, like they walk around and just they they are still where they are. Unfortunately, if they stay here earthbound, whatever age they die, they will remain that age. So if you died at 100 years old, you're 100 years old there forever. Now you're just kind of crooked over and you feel what you feel. That's it. Like you were when you were alive inside this body. But when you go back to, if you go into heaven, whatever age you died, if you died at 80 years old, if you died over the age of 30 years old, you would actually go back to feeling like you do when you're 30 years old, when you're like you're king of the world, you're strong. And it's just a sense of a feeling, a good feeling. If you're under the age of 30 years old and you die as a little child or something, like you would go into heaven and you would just grow up there. But there's no pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, or anything like that. You're not experiencing any broken bones, anything. So the
Wow.
afterlife is heaven's 100,000 times better than you can ever imagine it is. They show it to me. I see people walking around. I see people coming through the veil, and other people waiting there, talking to them and hugging them and kissing them. And I, I mean, even in heaven or even here in earthbound spirit, I see earthbound spirit interacting with each other. There's nothing else to do but interact with each other. But I'm telling you, they're really interacting with each other. They're making out. They're having sex. You can still do that stuff.
Oh,
They
wow.
still do that stuff. So yeah, it's an energy transfer, and they're doing it. I see them. They don't ever stop. So there's no time and space there. So you're kissing somebody here. You're doing it for 10 or 15 minutes. They're doing it for a year, and they don't even realize how much time has passed. I did a reading for a woman one time I used to do a live show where I would let people just come in and ask questions. She asked about her sister, where she said she didn't feel her sister around her. And I said, let me ask where she's at. And then I found out, I said, she didn't cross over into the light. And she wanted to know why. I said, well, if you give me her name, I'll find out for you. I'll ask her because I can do that. So I called out her name and she came through to me and I said, why are you still here? And she said, well, my sister, I needed to tell my sister some information. I said, what information? She said, well, when I was alive and in my body, she knew where she was. She said, I was cheating with her boyfriend. And I wanted to tell her that
Oh,
before I
wow.
left. So, unfinished business. And
Yeah.
I told her, I said, there's no such thing as unfinished business. It's time for you to go. I said, you need to leave and go home because this is not your home. So you're supposed to go home. And she said, well, I haven't been here that long. I said, how long do you think you've been here? And she said, oh, I've only been here about 2 days. I said, no, I'm sorry. You've been there 20 years. You've been gone, dead for 20 years. And she's like, what? I said, yeah, there's no time that passes that. You've been there for
Oh,
20 years.
wow.
So I eventually got her to cross over. Then I emailed the sister and she emailed me back because I told her, so she's there because she said she was cheating with your boyfriend. And her sister emailed me back. She said, oh, I already know that. She said, I've let that
Oh,
go a long
wow.
time ago. But so
Wow.
now, but yeah, she said she couldn't feel her around her. I said, she can't feel you. You can't feel her around you because she's in a low energy place. She can't produce enough energy for you to feel her around her. So because even though she's only been there 20 years, but she was a good person, but she just chose not to go. But there's these horrible negative energies. There's no such thing as a devil. There's no such thing as Satan. There might be someone walking around with horns and a tail, but that's because that's what he looks like where he comes from. That's all because I see everything, and there's a lot of things I can't explain to people because it's nothing what they look like. But these negative energies that are there, they collect a lot more energy than regular energies do. But they need it. They need negative energy to. So that's why a lot of these negative energies have been there such a long time. They know how to figure things out. That's why they can make things move around and they can try to manipulate you to I mean, spirit talk to us all the time, and spirit are always, people who are schizophrenic are not schizophrenic. They're getting voices. They're getting spirit talk to them. That's what it is. But you have doctors and everyone else telling you that you're crazy. You're
Yeah.
not crazy. I
Yeah.
hear voices all day long. I'm not crazy. But yeah, they can manipulate you. They can tell you to go out and kill people. But you being a person has a choice, a
Yeah.
free will choice, and you could say no. A lot of people don't, and they just go out and do it.
Yeah, I really like the way you explained, that concept of, what happens when you die. So you said a white light comes, and then so, like you said, some of the souls are afraid that if they go to that light, they're going to be recycled. So they don't want to go to the light, so they just end up
Right.
staying stuck. I've never heard it explained that way, and that just like
Recycled. That's a good way.
that just really that really just
Yeah.
that just really
And
made sense for me. Like I've never
yeah.
heard it explained that way.
But
Um,
there's always one other light that shines all the time too. So all those spirits that are here earthbound can see that is the actual light into heaven. And they can also hear it as well. So, I mean, all the people that are in the world, 7.5 billion of us, spirit can hear that, but they can tune it out because they are pure energy. They can manipulate themselves. I mean, even the negative energies can manipulate themselves to look like horrible things like demons and devils and monsters and all that to scare you so that they can collect that negative energy off of you. That's why they're here. They don't want you to die. They want to collect energy off you like they're energy vampires. You're a buffet for them. So that's why they want you to stick around, but they want you to be depressed. They want you to go into alcoholism and drugs and stuff like that. So, but this light that's always there, it's always there. It never goes away. It's been here since the beginning of time. It is an actual soul in a body. But see, when you go home, when you leave, you actually separate from your body and then you either stay here or go home. But if you're here now, you've been to heaven. I mean, you've been there 27 times. What you have in common with the other 7.5 billion people is they've all been to heaven. They all had to come back, just like you. So, but it's because you haven't fulfilled your purpose yet. And that's all it is. It's not punishment, just doing that. But there's always that light that other spirit have to be able to see, and other people pick up on this energy as well. But they have to be able to see that light to know where to go. When it's a physical, it's a spirit that's in a physical body. Like I said, you would leave your body and go back home, and then come back into another body. This one doesn't do that. Each time that the body that is in that it expires, another one is automatically born for this purpose, and then it just goes into that. So it hasn't gone home. It just stays here. And
got
then they
you.
can hear it as well. Like I said, the spirit can tune our voices out, but this one they can't tune out. They have to be able to hear it, they have to be able to see it, and they have to be able to know that they can go towards it and it will guide them to where they need to be. And
Yeah,
that light, and that light is me.
Yeah, that's like I'm in this spiritual community in this Facebook group, and I don't know. This was interesting. Who knows if it's true or not? But yeah, the one guy said something in the group, and it really kind of resonated with me. And I was like, but who knows if it's true or not? But yeah, that white light that you see when you die. He said that yeah, as soon as you go into that white light, that as soon as you go into it, then next thing you know, you come out of your next mother's womb, and next thing you know, you're going through the your next
Incorrect.
life. Incorrect?
Yeah, incorrect. Yeah, you do not go through the white light and come back into another body. You have to wait a period of time. Again,
Mm,
if you die over the age of 30 years old, if you die 80 years old, you go into that light and you will go to a holding place. They will go over your life with you, and that's where they will let you know if you have to come back again or not come back again. And those who have fulfilled their purpose don't have to come back again, and there's some who do. There's no new souls being created because there are so many souls. Even there are people here who were living in other bodies in other worlds and didn't get their purpose filled, so they have to come here because this is a learning planet, and they come here and hopefully they get it done here. But no, you go home and then you stay there for a while, like a vacation. Now for us, you won't return if you die at 80 years old or anything past 30 years old. You won't return here for another 80 years. That's why people who look up don't tell them to mess with ancestry.com or anything because you look up the person and go, oh, look at that person. He looks similar to me. It was you. It was just a previous version of you from 100 years ago. But you don't come back for quite a long time because God doesn't want anybody to recognize anybody. Because if you did, you'd know there was something up, and you wouldn't, you'd be questioning that instead of living the life that you're meant to live and the purpose you're meant to fulfill. So, but no, you don't go into the light and automatically come back into another body because you have to choose the body you have to come into. You have to choose when
mm.
they line up. These souls line up to get into bodies, what we call disabled bodies, because they know that's a lesson that's going to be very hard to learn, and you're going to be learning it yourself while teaching other people how to deal with you. And then they know that's a good golden ticket home to stay home.
Oh wow.
So yes, you would go back home and you'd stay there for a while. It'd be like for us, it'd be like 80 years. For them, it's like 8 days. So you're not even going to remember it because you're not meant to know what's going on in heaven. Because if you did, you wouldn't be able to function here as a human being because you're here to learn and go through the human experience. But yeah, But again, if you died at like 8 years old and you went into heaven, you would come back 8 years later. But
Yeah.
yeah, you don't automatically go in and come right back through. That doesn't happen. I don't know who told you that, but he's full
Okay.
of shit and doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, he didn't tell me. He just put it in a Facebook group, and I was reading. I was like, oh, it could
Yeah,
be,
most of
but
those Facebook groups are they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
yeah,
Ghost hunters don't know what the hell they're doing. They just don't.
yeah. I'm
They
just,
have
I'm
they have
open.
no idea the real big picture of why everything is everything. They just
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, so my whole thing is I don't, what is the truth? I don't know. Like I'm open to your idea. I'm open to everyone's idea. I just kind of hear everyone out, and then form my own opinion. Um,
Your
so
father is the truth. God.
yeah, so I also heard about this concept of your life review. So I'd like to
Yeah.
ask you, something that you touched on. I think it's very important, probably the most important message that we could leave in this podcast is. So you said the whole point of life, is to fulfill your purpose.
Yes.
How can we help people fulfill their purpose?
The simplest thing, like I said, someone walking up to you and needing your help in a physical way. There are those people who say they want your help, but they only want $20 from you so they can go to the liquor store and get something to drink. When they say they actually needed to pay a bill and they turn around, then you see them at the liquor store hanging out. So you got to figure that out. Again, that's part of your lessons learning what is the correct thing to do and the incorrect thing to do. But fulfilling your purpose is, yeah, absolutely helping others just for the sake of helping, not because you can, but because you should. In a way where, again, it's got to be a very physical thing. Someone's got to be doing something, they're lost, or they're working on a car, they can't figure it out, and you know how to do it, so you go and help them do it. Yeah, you're helping them to figure out how to do it, or helping them to help them to figure out for themselves. It's help, but it's real help. It's not like putting $20 in an envelope and sending it to Africa and you're going to feed 10 children when you're not. You're better to go to feed one because someone else is taking that. It's a physical way, it's a physical matter. And when you do help somebody in a physical way, it feels good. Sometimes you get the goosebumps. I mean, when
Yeah.
goosebumps come through, goosebumps are not a nervous thing. That's your soul coming through, letting you know. Your soul lets you know a lot of things. You get gut feelings inside of you. When you're driving down the street in a car and you get a gut feeling and you say, I'm going to pass that car, and the gut feeling says, don't pass the car. Well, then don't pass the freaking car. It's trying to guide you. It's trying to get you to where you need to be in this life and trying to keep you out of trouble. But people use their free will and their ego too much about themselves. So how do you know when someone didn't listen to it? Because you're at the hospital talking to your best friend who just got into a car accident, and he says three words to you. He says, "You know what? I saw that car in front of me." And then he says this, "I just knew." When he said that, that meant his soul was talking to him, and he didn't listen. And he said, "But I thought I could just make it." And then now here I am. Yeah. You know why you thought you could make it? Because you're fucking stupid. That's why. You don't listen. We get messages from spirit all the time. You get messages from your angel or your spiritual guides all the time. These are coming from a perfect place. And they're trying to guide you so you can get through this life the easiest way that you can. You can help as many people as you can so you can come home and stay home because God wants all of his children to come home with him. But we need to listen, trust, and follow through. And
Yeah.
if you're
So
not, well, then you're coming back. I don't make the rules. I just explain them.
yeah. So you're talking about listening. So obviously, listening to your intuition. So how can we help people cultivate, that a better sense of listening to their intuition?
Meditation. Meditation is the best way to do it. It's not always easy. In the beginning, when I was trying to meditate, I would sit there and I would say the word empty out loud. And then I'd say it in my mind, empty 10 times, just to get myself cleared. And then, sit there and wait for something. I don't do that anymore. Now, if I want something, I mean, when you're a child and you're hungry, do you just stand there and wait for your mom to feed you? Or do you ask your mom, hey, I'm hungry? So I stand out in the room and I say, is there anything that you want me to see, hear, or feel? Is there anything that you want me to know or anything that I need to know to move forward with? And then I take my phone and I go to YouTube and I find this thing called binaural beats. It's just music, it's sound and tones. And I put that on my phone. I connect that to my Bluetooth speaker. I stick it in the corner of the room so that way when the music comes out, it engulfs the entire room, which engulfs me. And I'm in like that. And then I wait for them to bring me something. That's how I wrote my book because they bring me messages in like movie form or sometimes like cartoons, and they showed me a cartoon of a man standing there at a table writing something on them looked like scrolls, and I was like, but when I'm in meditation, I can talk to them just like this, and I was like, is he writing something? And I got touched yes. And I said, what's he writing? And then they showed me a piece of paper in front of my face and it had my handwriting on it. And I was like, what is that supposed to mean? What do you want me to write something? Yes. I said, you want me to write a book? And I got yes. And then they just started saying, we want you to write about you. We want you to tell you all your experiences. This is a guide for other people. Because basically the premise of my book is if you're having these types of things go on with you, like I had go on with me, go out and find your people because there's somebody else out there who's experiencing the same thing or even anything in your life that you can't figure out. Go out and find your people. Find someone who can help you with this because we are meant to help each other in this world. We're all in this together. I mean, if we're not meant to be together, there wouldn't be 7.5 billion of us. There'd only be one. And that's not the case. So, but yeah, you got to go out and find them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I actually had a whole book outline shoot out of me about a few weeks ago, and so yeah, I also feel like I have some sensitivity into receiving these messages. I had a whole
Well, you
book
and I
outline.
talked about that.
Yeah. So I'd also like to ask you, so in what ways do you think your work as an intuitive reader contributes to the greater good or spiritual evolution of humanity?
Because I get to help people every day. I get to help them give some peace of mind, some clarity, and some direction. When I sat yesterday and read 15 people yesterday, 15 people in a row, and seven people came through. And when I said to them again, when I sat down and looked at them and I said, were you waiting to tell me that you were a medium or did you want me to tell you that? And when they started crying in front of me, I know that what I get is real. I know what I get is the truth. And then I helped them to figure out what they need to do next in order to move forward with this. Now, moving forward with this is not easy to do. And I'm not saying everybody out there has a gift because you don't, because not everyone is meant to have this. You either have it or you don't. Some of us are meant to be teachers, others are just meant to be students. You cannot go to school and go to take an intuition class and then take a college course and become a medium. It doesn't happen that way because this is not a gift, it's an ability that comes through with your soul and comes through with your soul every single time. And sometimes you wake up with it and sometimes you don't. But if you do have this, you need to go out and find your people. You need to go out and find others who are willing to contribute to you getting you where you need to be. So as I told them, where you need to be is sitting in my chair and not sitting in yours. That's what you need to do. So I do that, but I don't always just do that for people who have these abilities. I get people answers that they need. Now, I've had some tough people who just don't listen. I had a woman yesterday who was asking me questions about her husband. Is he cheating on me? Yes. Is he cheating on me with how many people? I said, well, he doesn't consider your worth to be number one in a relationship. I said, he doesn't even consider you to be number three. That's how bad it is. So but she kept going on with, I need to know this, I need to know that. I said, you don't need to know anything except for he's doing it. So get out. But she just wanted to keep going on with, I got to find more information. I said, you don't have to find more information. You know that this is going on, correct? She said, yes. I said, so why are you still there? She just didn't want to let go. I even told her a story of another woman who called me up with the same thing. And I gave her some information, but she wanted me to continue to tell her, is it this woman? Is it I said, it's somebody, and it's happening to you at the same time. You need to get out. And she said, but I need to I said, if you don't get out soon, it's going to be detrimental to your health. Is that a good enough message to you? And she said, I guess, but I just need to know who it is. I said, no, you want to know who it is because you want to have revenge. I said, and that's not going to help you because that's going to cause you more trouble. So get out of the relationship because if you don't, it's going to be detrimental to your health. And I hung up the phone with her. And then because I kept telling her, there's nothing else I could do for you. I'm trying to give you the information so you can get out of this relationship.
Tough love, yeah. Tough
She
love.
called me up 3 months later. She called me up because she was running to a hotel because her husband just beat the shit out of her. And I told her, if you would listen to me, if you don't, it's going to be detrimental. And it was. And he beat the shit out of her in front of her child. So now this kid's going to be all screwed up and she's living in a hotel somewhere where on the fly, where she could have done something a lot sooner. And that's what I was telling this woman yesterday. And she just wouldn't fucking listen. They don't get it all the time. But this is what I do. I give it to them blunt, I give it to them straight, and I tell them like it is. And I always tell people when I do a reading, I can only tell the truth one way. I can't tell it 50 ways until one way suits you. Meaning, if you ask me a question and I get the answer for you, that's the answer. If you try to ask that question in a different way because you don't like the answer, tough shit. Because people come to me for an answer from God, and I get it, but they don't always like that answer because they just don't like the truth. That's not my problem. My thing is I'm here to do is get them the answers to help them, to give them some peace and clarity, give them some direction in their lives. But it's up to them to decide if they're going to follow through with it. Most of them don't. But I got to do what I'm here to do, so I just do it.
Yeah.
I know it sounds very direct and very blunt about it, but God, He doesn't want us to have to try to figure things out like it's a riddle or a puzzle. He gives everything that I'm given, I give directly to them. It's very black and white because life is very black and white. It's not all about rainbows and freaking unicorns. It's not all about love and light and all that bullshit. Life is hard sometimes, and we can get through it, but we have to learn to listen, trust, and follow through. And when you get those gut feelings inside of you to do something, follow through with it. If you turn around and go, maybe I'll do it yesterday, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it some other time. That's basically you telling God, I don't have time for you, God. But you know when people call on God? When they're desperate. You know why they're desperate? Because they didn't listen, trust, and follow through their entire lives.
Oh
Do you
yeah.
think he's really going to answer you out of desperation? No. He wants you to figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yeah. Tough love. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is. Well, it is because we're here to learn lessons.
yeah.
We have to learn them,
Yeah.
and we're just not good learners.
I went to an ayahuasca retreat, and that's changed my life, man. I'm a completely different person now. I found God, and I've been sober, and I've just now I'm pursuing this line of work. I want to help people, and I'm
You found
connected.
him. I didn't
I'm
know
co
he was lost.
Yeah, I'm connected to nature now, and my shaman, I would describe him. It was tough love, like he looked at me and
Correct.
he's like, you need a second cup. Go up to the altar. He knew what I needed, and when I took that second cup, it was like, it was that tough love, and it changed my life. So I'd like to ask you,
People need that.
if you could elaborate a little bit more on those messages that you were sending me in our Facebook Messenger chat. If you could elaborate a little bit more on that,
Yeah.
like
So when you and I were talking, and I just I threw it out there. I said that you're an empath, that you pick up on the feelings and pick up on you're very sensitive to other feelings that are around you, and sometimes these feelings can overwhelm you because you're picking up all the negativity that's going on around you. And what happens with that is it becomes very hard because it's like walking into a smoky bar. And when you walk out of that smoky bar, it's all over you. Why? Because it's attracted to you. It's attracted to you because of your light being brighter than others. That's why I am who I am, because I'm super bright white light, and they all come to me, as well as people come to you. They want to they can feel that energy from you, unknowingly feel it from you, and they feel as though they're driven to you, and they can basically come up to you and talk to you and unload on you and tell you their life stories, and then that's fine and dandy. And but you being an empath, it is up to you to have empathy for them and try to help them through it. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can understand that's exactly what's happening. And then they take all this negative energy and it becomes part of them. And then by the end of their day, they're completely overwhelmed, or they feel like they're going crazy, or they start crying over emotions. They don't know where these emotions come from. They need to learn how to do some grounding work, and then try to get some protection around them using some crystals, or just putting a bubble of a positive energy around themselves, and do that throughout the day to protect themselves. But yeah, this is not always common, but I do see more empaths than I do people who have an ability to actually see spirit and communicate with them. And when I was at this event yesterday, there were three other readers there. None of them see spirit. None of them. They say, "Oh, I sense them around me," or sometimes I hear things, but none of them actually see. And then when I explained what I see, they were like, "I don't know what that is. Yeah, I don't see nothing like that." So this is a far few in between. I mean, there's only 10% of the population that have this type of an ability. You run into them, but the only reason you run into them is because you're attracted to each other in that energy sense of way. I mean, it's like when someone hugs somebody. You hug somebody and you hold on to them and you give them a hug, but there's always that one person you hug them and you don't want to let them go. And the reason why is because that's an energy transfer. That's what's going on. So we get attracted to each other, and that's why we come in contact with each other all the time. But then again, we're all related to each other anyway, because we all come from the same family, the soul family. We're just here living this experience. But yeah, so that's what I pointed out to you. And as soon as I pointed it out and started telling everything, you just typed right back. You're spot on. And how would I know that about you when I've never met you until that moment? Because I'm the shizzle dizzle. That's how.
Yeah, my 20s, or my whole life I've been a sensitive kid and I never knew how to deal with it. And my
They
I
call
start
you ADHD or something like that?
no, I don't think so.
Call you a
But
dreamer?
I started drinking alcohol and smoking weed when I was 14 years old, and that was
Right.
kind of
To get away from it.
that was kind of my way to deal with it, and hanging around those people, and it's been that's been my whole life up until a couple of years ago. So alcohol gave me liquid courage, and it removed my sensitivity, and I could go out and be around a bunch of people and all that.
Right.
But now that I'm sober again, like it's like I'm so sensitive to people's energy and I like to isolate. And so, like you said, I need to learn to ground myself. And so I'm out in nature now a lot. I put my bare feet in the ground and I meditate and
Right.
I connect with the sun and it's really helping. Yeah.
You put your feet in the ground, you put your back up against the tree, you take a
Yeah.
knife that's made out of iron, you stick it in the ground and you hold on to it and you sit there and absorb. That's what you do. What you're doing is recharging yourself with the natural energy that's coming from this place. Get
Yeah.
yourself out in the sun. Get yourself, if you can get yourself next to a stream or a river or an ocean with the waves crashing, collecting negative, positive energy. Taking showers, same thing. Yeah.
Do you,
You're
do you,
washing away all the negativity in you and bringing all the positivity back. But then you go back out in the world and gain more negativity. You have to do it all over and over again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ground yourself?
No, I don't
No.
have to. I'm protected from archangels. I don't have to do anything like that. I don't even meditate anymore. Sometimes I just close my eyes and the message is already playing, like it's already been there. And it rotates until I figure out what it means, and then I say, okay, that's it, and then they turn it off. But no, I'm protected from everything
Okay.
because I
So,
cross spirit over, and I don't just cross one or two. I cross thousands of them at a time.
yeah.
When I'm in my bedroom at night, it's like I'm sitting on a balcony and I'm looking down and I see thousands of people and dogs and cats and animals and all that stuff just standing there, and they're
Yeah.
just interacting with each other. It's when I speak to them it becomes different. I tell them,
Yeah.
is there any? I say, hello, is there anybody here who wants to cross into the light? And it's amazing to see 1,000 souls do this and look
Yeah.
up. And then they see me, and then I talk to them. And when I do that, they start crossing over. Flashes of light go off around me. It actually physically goes off around me. People I know witness it. My sister
Yeah.
was sitting with me one time, and we were sitting in a room, and a big flash of light went off, and she was like, "Oh my God, what the heck was that?" I was like, "Oh, that's just somebody jumping in." She's like, "Look, like lightning went off in here." I said, "Yeah, they're jumping in." She said, "Jumping in?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Oh, crossing over." I said, "Yeah." She said, "How do you get used to that?" You just do, because it happens all the time. It never doesn't not happen, ever. Even if I just stare into kind of like space, I see these clouds just going. So I'm the light. I'm the light into heaven. I don't have any control of it. It just happens. So I'm the portal for all souls. So all that come through into this world or any world in this world specific comes through me. And they go home comes through me. And anyone that comes here to visit someone comes through me.
Nice. Nice.
I'm it.
Yeah, I'm realizing that we've gone 20 minutes over already. I'm not sure how much time do you have left. I just have a few more questions.
You keep asking.
Cool. All right. Yeah, this has been a great conversation.
I
So,
already ate
um,
breakfast. I'm good.
so I'd like to ask you, so have you ever experienced any moments of doubt or uncertainty about your abilities? And if so, how do you overcome them?
Yeah. Yeah. In the very beginning, it was really tough for me. Um, there was a point when I was I had another medium tell me that they were touching me on my face for answers, and I was like, "Oh, is that what that is?" Because I'd felt it a long time. I just didn't know what it was. I thought it was a bug walking across my head. So I'd feel this or something like that, or going across or on the back of my forehead. Felt like a spider walking across my back of my head. And I was like, "Oh, that's what it is." And I said, "So which one is which?" And she said, "They want you to figure that out on your own." I was like, "Oh, okay." She said, "Yeah, one of your spirit guides was looking at me like rolling his eyes, like, oh boy, he's not getting this." I said, "Oh, okay." So I was at my job. I worked in prison. I worked in medical records in prison. So not the best choice, but whatever. And I was sitting there at my desk, and I said, "All right, well," I said out loud, "Are you touching me?" Because I got something in my mind that said yes and no, and I was like, "Are you touching me for yes and no answers?" And then I got touched across my forehead, and I was like, "Oh, okay. So you just touched me across my eyebrow. Is that where you are going to touch me?" And I got yes, but then I felt that too, and I was like, "Wait a minute. So if this one that you touched me across my eyebrow, is that a yes?" And then I got touched yes. And I was like, "All right, if that's yes, let me ask this in this way. Is my name Daniel Johnson?" And then I got touched that. And I was like, "Okay, so that means no." And then I got touched yes again. I was like, "Okay, so that's yes, this is no." And then I got touched yes again. I said, "Okay, that's what that is." I was like, "All right, but you said when I asked, am I going to be touched on here for yes and no, I got yes, but then no. So does that mean you're going to touch me in other places?" And then I got touched here again, yes. And then after I got touched there, then I got touched on this side. I was like, "Okay, so now I'm going to get touched around my forehead. That is yes, right?" And they said, "Yeah, but I also got a no again." I was like, "So I'm going to be touched other places for yes?" But then I heard in my mind, "Yes, but we'll tell you who it is and you'll know who it is from that point on." And I was like, "Whoa." And then when I said that, because I heard a voice in my head, I was like, "Whoa." And when I did that, I felt this. And I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute here." So, but that stopped. And for the first maybe 2 years, I was just getting yes. I was getting yes here. And it feels like a tear running down my face. And that's no. And now it's to the point where I get sometimes I got a yes here and a yes here and a no here and a no here. Like if it's a real strong no,
Uh,
I get two no's or
well,
two yeses.
well, hopefully they don't put a finger up your nose or something one time.
Well, so there is the other part, but yeah, so then after a while, I would feel a touch on my face somewhere, and then I say, "Oh," I'd say, "Is that another archangel?" And then I get touched. This is a general yes, yes. I say, "Who is it?" And then they would tell me a name. That's all of them. There's 52 of them. There was 51, and about 3 weeks ago, another one came in. So now there's 52. I have to add another name to this list. I just keep adding names. When I wrote the book, there was only 13 of them. Now there's 52, and I wrote the book a year ago, a little over a year ago. So yeah, so they're always coming in, they're always touching me. This one's Jesus, Helen, Raphael, Lucifer, Jesus, Manos. I said Lucifer, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Amenadiel, Azrael, Mezakim, Michael, Paul, Jacob, Daniel, Laziel, Ezekiel, Richard, Don, Nicholas. It just goes on and on and on and on. But now I don't even. I would say thank you to them every night, but I don't do that anymore. Now I just say thank you to my spiritual guide family, and then when I'm doing that, or I say thank you to God because prayer is not for asking for more than you're supposed to have. Prayer is for giving thanks for what you do have. That's not asking. You're not meant to have it. You won't have it. There's no such thing as manifestation. There's no such thing as the law of attraction. It happens because they're attracted to you because you're attracted to it because you're putting that positivity out there. That's why it's happening. Because not everybody becomes a millionaire. You can wish and hope and all you want and dream that you're going to become a millionaire, but not everybody does. So does that mean it's not working for them? No, it just means it doesn't work. It's going to happen. It's going to be brought to you. You'll be brought everything you need in your life, no more, no less. But everything you need in your life is what you need to learn your lessons, not someone else. So, but yeah, so they touch me all over my face, but I do get touched by other spirit. Now, these other spirit are not negative energies. I see negative energies when I see them at nighttime or in my dark room, or even I look into a dark screen or something like that. I see glowing red, and then they show their face to me, and they try to come to me because they want to try to get some of my energy from my life, but I'm not for that. So but they can't do it anyway. They can't even get close to me. I mean, when I see archangels, they're always about 4 or 5 feet away. Other spirit negative energies are about 8 or 10 feet away. There's only one figure that's come through who comes right up to my face, and I've seen him 5 times, and that's God. And he's spoken to me 8 times. He touches me on my eyelid. That's happened 6 times. So, but yeah, it just it took me a while to figure it out. That's all. But, and when I
Mm.
do these readings for people who do this, I tell them everything that I went through to let them know that this thing could possibly happen to you in a certain way as well. I mean, like the TV show Touched by an Angel, you don't want to be touched by an angel. I'm telling you, because the way that it happened for me is the way that would happen to you if you were being touched by an angel. They would come to me at nighttime. This would happen once every 2 weeks, so twice a month. They come into my room. I see them all standing around me. I see them talking to each other, and I call it the board meeting. And I say, because they're deciding what they're going to do to me next. And what they're doing to me is they're working on my soul so that I can see them, hear them, feel them, and communicate with them better. And I had to go through this process. So I would see them that night, and then the next night I'd be laying in bed and feel all these touches, cold touches all over my entire body, on my face, my back, my head, every part of my body, and I feel that. And then the very next day, I'd be in the bathroom because I'm shitting and throwing up for 3 or 4 hours. And this would go on for 2 or 3 days. And then I would recover from it. And then it would happen 2 weeks later. And this went on for 3 years. So when I said yes to God to move forward, this is what I said yes to. This is what I have to go through in order to be able to do what I do, to get the communication that I do, to see the things I do, to feel the things I do, smell spirit, the thing, everything that I have happened to me and for me, I had to go through this purging process in order to be there. Would you
Did you have a
would you want
religious
that?
did you have a religious upbringing growing up?
I was brought up Catholic. Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, my dad, how old is he? He's old. He's 78. But he's still relatively good shape for his age, but in these past, I would say 10 years, he says that he sees shadow beings. And my dad, he's always been a prankster. He likes to joke around and stuff, but I can tell when he's joking or not. And so he's said this over and over. And I at first I thought he was joking, but he keeps saying he sees them and he's serious about it. And he has glaucoma. So at first I wanted to say it was his glaucoma, but I'd like to get your input on it. What do you think's going on there?
What color is your shadow?
What was that?
What color is your shadow?
My shadow?
Yeah,
Black?
right. Are you evil?
No.
Neither are they. Shadow people are spirit that they don't know you, they don't trust you, they don't have a relationship with you, and that's what you see
So why is he seeing them? And
because he's getting close,
yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
because it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom was passing away. She passed away about 2 years ago, and my I went to see her one time, and then I hadn't been there for about a week because I was there to say goodbye because I knew it was coming. And my sister called me up in the middle of the night about 4 or 5 days later, about 2 o'clock in the morning. She said, and I was like, "What's going on? What are you calling me for?" She's like, "Mom, it's mom." She's sitting in the middle. She's because she was bedridden. She's like, she's sitting up from her bed. She's looking up at the ceiling. She's pointing up at the ceiling. She can't talk because her voice is gone now. But she's like, it's like she's trying to talk to somebody. She keeps turning her head like she's trying to hear something. She hears something. She's talking to somebody. What is going on? And my sister knows all about me. And I said, she's talking to people that you only wish you could see. She's talking to dad right now. She's talking to other family members. She's talking to her father. They're telling me right now she was talking to her dad. She was talking to her mother. That's who was there. And they were letting her know that she was going to be okay and that it is time for her to go home. And she did. She died the next morning.
Wow.
I just went to a friend's house about 3 weeks ago. She wanted me to, she lives in the neighborhood where I live, right in the next one over. And she said, "Can you come over and talk to my mother?" And I said, "Why? What's up?" She said, "Well, my mom's she's almost like catatonic now, but I know my mom's afraid of death. She's said a couple things, and I know she just because she wasn't this way a couple of weeks before that, but now she's that." And I said, "Sure, I'll come over and talk to her." She said, "Just try to do whatever you can." I know because she knows what I do, and I've done readings for she witnesses everything. So I went over there and talked to her. And as soon as I started talking to her, she was catatonic until I started talking to her, and then she locked eyes with me. And then I just let her know what she needed to know, what she needed to do, where she's going, and what she needed to look for. And I sat there and talked to her for 20 minutes. And I said, "Don't worry, everything's okay. She knows what to do now. Everything's fine." And then I went out of the room, and then they called her back into the room, and she said she just sat there and she had a smile on her face. And she goes, "I think whatever you said worked." I said, "Awesome."
Wow.
I said,
That's
"Everything will
beautiful.
be perfectly fine."
That's
I went
beautiful.
home, and as soon as I got home, she messaged me on my phone and said she just passed away.
Wow.
Can't make this shit up.
Yeah, to me that's so beautiful, helping these people transition into
Right.
that next phase. That's so important, and I think
They are
I,
afraid.
I think yeah, they're afraid, and especially in the Western world, a lot of people die in hospitals, and the nurses, and the doctors are lying to the family, and it's like it's just so messed up over here. Like I was even watching a video on YouTube about, in Tibet. They have the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and it's a whole ceremony, and
Oh yeah.
they're doing these chants, and they're helping them. They call them the bardos, and they help them transition, into that, into the afterlife.
Yeah.
Like we need to have that over here. Like why don't
We
we have
don't.
that?
We don't understand death. We don't understand the reason of death. We're always told about how our death is going to be horrible. The world wants you to think your death is going to be horrible because they want you to just live as much as you can so you can go out and work, 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 work and make all this money for them. So, and
Yeah,
you're living off the crumbs. But yeah, they want you to tell how horrible how horrible it's going to be. That religion tells you only we can get you into heaven, and there's only going to be 1,400 of us, and that's
yeah,
who's all go. The chosen ones. They're not the chosen ones. Believe me, they chose themselves to be in control of everybody. And so you'll believe them so they can tell you how to live your life the way they want you to live it and give them 10%. That bullshit. I Before we came out here, my wife and I, her mom was doing really bad. She had stage 4 cancer. I was going out there every day to be with her. And then my wife's coming in, and we were there one day, and her mom said to me, she said in this way, like this, and she went like that. "Can you ask your people how long I've got? Because I'm tired. I just want to go." And she was doing really bad. And I said, I looked at my wife and I was like, and she's like, "Just get her an answer because I know she's just tired. She just wants to know something." I went in the bedroom. I came back and I looked at her. I said, "Dolores, everything that you need us to know, I want you to write it down because you got 2 weeks." She died 2 weeks to the day.
wow,
So, I mean, I get
yeah,
answers. I'm that connected.
yeah. Okay,
So
so
I'm
can
trying
we
to help
talk? Can we
everybody.
talk to the listeners, more about the services that you offer, who they're for and how they help?
Sure. Well, they're for everybody, everybody and anybody who wants answers, who wants some peace and clarity. I'm not the person who can directly talk to your mom and dad, but I have had instances where that has come through. And if they come through, that's great. Um, there's no medium out there. I'm telling you, if you go to a medium and they promise you that they can get a hold of your mom and dad, they're full of shit. I'm telling you, take your money, pick your ass up, and walk out that door because spirit will only communicate with you or talk to you if they want to. Sometimes they don't want to because they just don't want to, or they don't have enough energy to do that because they haven't been there long enough to have that kind of energy to be able to communicate with you. So they may actually send another person through from your family who can talk to you, and whoever is the one who's talking to you is getting the information because we're all is one, one is all. We all know what we all know together. So don't be afraid of that. You may not have gotten along with your uncle, but your uncle is now in a place where he no longer holds any pain, anguish, or guilt, anguish, or anything against you. He's all about love and positivity, and can get that message to you. So if you get a message, whoever it's coming from, accept it. But know again that if spirit doesn't want to talk to you, it's not because they hold a grudge against you or anything like that. They just, they're just, not everybody wants to talk to everybody because now they're living a life that's uninterrupted. If you got that live a life uninterrupted, would you want to be bothered by anybody? No. So, but the who I can get information for is anybody. But you have to want to actually get this information. I have had people come to me for readings, and these two women came to me, and one of them asked me questions. I got the answers for her. The other one asked me questions, and as she was asking me questions, I got a real bad sense about it. So I asked, is this person telling me the truth? And I kept touching, getting no. So I stopped the reading and told her, I said, if you're going to ask me questions, ask me truthful questions. You're not asking me truthful ones because you want your own truth and you're trying to manipulate the situation because you want power and control over this woman here. And I turned around and looked at her and I said, she doesn't love you. She doesn't care about you. She doesn't want anything from you but except to control you because that's what makes her happy. Do yourself a favor. Here's your sign. Get out of this relationship because she's a piece of shit. Now, if you're going to ask me truthful questions, I'll answer them for you. And then she said, how the hell did you know that? And I said, because you're talking to the fucking medium and stop trying to trick me because it doesn't work and no one can ever trick me. I get touch for yes and no answers. I know when people are lying to me. So she asked me truthful questions. And then when she did, I gave her the answers. And then she started humming. And I said
Humming?
to her girlfriend, why is she humming? She humming? She said, yeah, she does it to me all the time. I said, yeah, she's blocking me out. I stood up and gave her money and said, have a great day. Now, again, I can get answers for anybody, but you have to want to do this, and you have to have the willingness, and you do have to believe because you don't believe I'm going to know it, and then I'm going to quit that reading. But again, anybody can get a reading with me. You can go to my website. It's at www.spiritmediumdaniel.com. It's one long word, spiritmediumdaniel.com, and you can get a reading with me. There are lots of people other mediums who come to me because they have this ability, but they know it's something more than just a regular ability. And there are other people out there like me, but not everybody, not all mediums get archangels. They just don't because they're not privy to that information because they don't need it. They're meant to be a fucking circus act, and I'm not a circus act. I'm not here for that. I'm not here a fortune teller or anything like that. I'm here to help people get them some peace of mind, some clarity, and some direction in their lives. And if you want that and you need that, then you call me because I'm going to give you the truth. And not everybody likes the truth, so you better be prepared to get that truth. And that truth, it's when you do a reading with me online, it's $150, but it's for between 2 and 2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours, because I get a lot of information. Because when they ask a question and I give them an answer, they usually have another question that goes along with that answer. So I don't make money from this. I charge that because it takes time out of my day to do this. It takes energy out from me to do this for someone. But I'm willing to do it for as long as I need to do it to get enough information for you that you need to do to get some clarity and some direction in your life. But yeah, I'm not making a lot of money off this because I'm not about that. I'm just trying to help people as much as I can. So if they need that, they can come and get a reading with me, and I will they just set it up and they pay for it, and then we'll have at it. And I always record those readings too, so that way I can send it to them because it's so much information that comes through that it's
Oh
hard
yeah.
to grasp everything. So I want them to be able to, they can fast forward and get past all my stupid jokes and stuff like that, so they can get all the information that they need.
Yeah.
If they want to read my book, they can go on Amazon, and when you get on Amazon, just put in the search bar Daniel Jackson, The New Beginning, My Awakening as a Spirit Medium, and put that in, and you'll see this picture of a man standing there walking into a bright white light, and it says Daniel Jackson at the top of it. And yeah, it's 137 pages. It's a chronological story of everything that happened to me and for me. And again, it's about that message that if this is happening to you, go out and find your people. Because once you read what was going on in my book, and if it's happening to you, well, then you're just going to figure out what I went through. And I
Yeah.
went through a lot. And a lot of people do, but we don't always know that because people keep stuff from each other because they're afraid to talk about it. But
Oh yeah.
I'm not. And go out and find your people. And if you can't find anybody, at the end of that book is my email address. Contact me and I will help you. And it won't cost you anything because I'm just trying to help people. If they want to see my show, it's called Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson. Hey, that's how I started. And they can find it at www.beyond-the-veil.com. And they can find us on all the big ones, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, all that stuff, the audio part of it. But we're also in video too, so they can go on YouTube, just look up Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson, or go on Rumble as well and Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson, and you can see our videos. We have about, I think, 75 or 76 shows out now. We've been doing it for about 3 years, and I don't have any sponsors or anything like that. I do it because people need this information because there have been too many TV shows and movies and all that bullshit that give you bullshit, and they don't tell you the truth. And I'm here to tell you the truth to let you know what is real and what is not real. There's a lot of things in this business, unfortunately, that are not real. Sage is not going to make negative energies go away. You can burn it all you want to, but they are in a realm where they don't have a body, they don't have lungs, they don't smell, and they don't breathe. So the only thing you're going to do is set off your fire alarms. That's what you're going to do. It's not going to make anything negative go away. The only way you can make negative things go away is by being positive. And the people who usually have a bunch of negative energies around them, they're not telling you, but you probably know already. They're a piece of shit, and that's why they have them around. I'm not judging anybody. You're a piece of shit because you are. So choose differently and do something different. But yeah, so that's how you can find me. You can go on Facebook. I have a Spirit Medium Daniel group where I allow people to come in there, and they can just ask questions whenever they want to. And then I talk about things and quote things, but I don't quote from other people. These are all coming from them, from
Mm.
me. So and I'm very interactive in that group. But I will tell people you can join the group, but I again, I get touch for yes and no. So if I see your name, first question I ask is, does this person have good intentions? And if I get touched no, declined. Because I don't fuck
Oh,
around with
yeah,
stupid people.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm trying to get
Thank you for
good people together.
thank you for providing all that. I'll definitely link all of it into the video description. So looking ahead, what do you envision for the future of your work and your impact on the spiritual community?
I am here to try to change the world. That's what I'm here for. That's what they tell me I am here for. And I know I'm only here for another 26 more years. My birthday's in November. I just turned 57 years old, but my birthday's in November. I'm going to die in August on the third week on a Wednesday night. So I only have 26 more years left to be here on Earth. Um, I am here to try to change this world, change this place, because we all live on the same planet. No one's going anywhere anytime soon. So we better start to get along with each other before we annihilate each other, because that's where we're headed. And we can't do that because he doesn't want us to do that. He wants us to learn. He wants us to take care of each other. He wants us to share everything in this world, and that's what I'm trying to get everybody to know. Trying to get them to know why we're here and what is our purpose, and trying to fulfill that purpose so we can all go home and stay home, so we can all get to that ultimate goal of all. Because you're not going to do it individual. Nobody does it individual. You don't rise to a higher conscious individually. We do it as a people, as a race, as the only one and true race, which is the human race, and we are supposed to do this together. And that's what I'm trying to get people on board with to do, to help each other, to
Love
look out
that.
for each
Love
other, to
that.
have respect for each other and love for each other, stop judging each other, take care of each other. That's what we are here to do. And that's what I'm trying to do as much as I can. That's why I go on all these podcast shows. I've been on like over 150 of them in the past 3 years. I
Nice.
mean, today's Sunday, and I have one more to do today, and then four more to do in the next 2 days. So
Nice.
I'm doing this as much as I can to get this word out to let everybody know this is what we're truly here for. We're not here
Hmm.
to sit around and watch Super Bowls and basketball games and NCCA and all that bullshit and the presidents and the government and all that bullshit. We're here to take care of each other. That's what we are here to do, and we are not doing that right now. We don't need we coming up on all these border walls and then all this. We live on the same planet. It doesn't make a difference where your telephone comes from because nothing's made in the USA anymore. Okay, everything comes from everywhere, all over this world. We just need to put our boundaries down and tear our own individual self walls down and get together as people because we're all people. We're all human beings and we all need to work together.
Love
That's what
that.
we need to do. Stop hating on each
Love
other.
that.
Stop teaching each other hate. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you know what? I mean, kids, they're, if you take two kids of the age of 2 years old of every race, creed, and color, and they're all humans anyway in this world, and you put them all in one room and you turn around two of them, say, I want you to point to me, who do you hate in this room? They're going to look at you like you're crazy. Why? Because they don't know how to hate yet.
Yeah.
And so that's how they learn it. Stop teaching them and teach them that we are here to take care of each other and have respect for each other and love each other. If we did that everywhere, we wouldn't have all this rape and murder and pedophilia and all this other crap. The same stuff that's in the Bible, rape and murder and pedophilia. Because people pay attention to the Bible and they say, I live by the Bible. Well, if you do, are you raping and murdering and having pedophilia in your life? Well, no. Well, it says that in the Bible, it tells you to do that. And even in the Bible, it says not to talk to me because I'm a medium. Because in Leviticus 19:31, and who's Leviticus? He's no one. He's just a group of people that Moses belonged to who created the rules. They sat around and created rules, people. Wake the hell up. God doesn't command us. There's no commandments. He wants us to live together and take care of each other. But in Leviticus 19:31, it said, not to speak to mediums because we speak to the dead. We speak to spirit. Now, yeah, we do speak to spirit, but somebody else must speak to spirit in the Bible too, even though it says you're not allowed to do that because it says Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. Well, Father and the Son, yes, but no Holy Ghost, because how would you know he's holy unless you spoke to him? And who's the lucky person that is allowed to speak to that person? That's the only way the only reason I talked to you beforehand and I told you these things about you and you said yes. You could have said no, but the only way I would have known it was no was because you had to speak to me. Somebody spoke to the Holy Ghost. And who is it? Who is that person who's so special in religion that they're allowed to speak to the Spirit and you're not? So no, there's no Holy Ghost. Here, spirit are not holy. When you're there in heaven, you're not walking around with a Bible in your hand because you're with archangels and angels and everything and everyone else. You don't need to read about it. You're living it. There's no physical Bible there, as well as this Bible here is a bunch of shit. It was inspired by God. Well, I was inspired by Peter Criss from Kiss, and I started playing drums. But does that mean I was a good drummer? Does that mean he was a good drummer? No.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd like to ask you kind of a selfish question. We're kind of closing it out here.
Of course you would.
So, you know, kind of expanding on what you told me, you know about being an empath and all that. And so I'm a DJ, right? I work in marketing and I started this podcast and I really want to help people heal and
What's your
all that.
DJ name?
Tunes from the Crypt. Yeah.
And see
So,
this right here? Does not mean the devil. No such thing.
so I'd like to ask you, am I on the right path?
Correct.
Or any advice, that you can give me on my journey ahead.
You're already following the correct path. You're doing what you need to do. You're looking for information. You're looking to do what all of us should do: educate ourselves, find the truth, because everybody out in the world is trying to di- to divert you from that truth because they want you. Again, they want you to believe that they can help you do everything. In the same way, like if you and I were best friends, and you told me again you were drinking a lot, and I'd say, look, I will keep you away from drugs and alcohol, keep you away from alcohol. I'll keep you away from all that shit. I'll take you to meetings. I'll keep you away from all the bars and all that stuff. Although, who doesn't like a good strip club? I get it. But I'll keep you away from all that stuff. But no matter what I say or do, it isn't going to make a difference unless you choose to get back on that path, unless you choose to stop drinking. So, but you're doing what you need to do. You're looking for information. You are educating yourself. Unfortunately, you have come across some information that is not correct. But again, there are a lot of people out in this business. I don't like to call it that because I don't even like to call them clients because they're just friends. They become friends. I had some repeat people come to me yesterday who I didn't even charge them anything because they just needed some more advice, so I just gave it to them. But yeah, you're looking for information. As long as you're looking for information and are constantly trying to find the answers, you're always going to remain on that path. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you have found some information that has helped you, has guided you, has gotten you off of drugs and alcohol, has gotten you on a good path, has gotten you on a path of trying to help others in this world. As long as you are doing that, don't worry about it.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Kind of closing it out, can you send the listeners out there a final message of love and healing, people who might be struggling out there?
Absolutely. When you come across anyone, you walk through a store, you're coming through the store, you're going out the door, and you see somebody walking up to you, don't judge them. Because when you look at them and you think, oh, I don't like their shoes, I don't like their clothes, I don't like the way they got their hair, they look all disheveled and everything. Before you do that, take a self inventory of yourself. Think about all the crap that you have been through in your life because everyone is going through something. I don't care who it is. I don't care Kim Kardashian, whoever it is. They're all going through something. And before you look at anyone else and judge what they're going through, think about what you have been through and what has gotten you to where you are now and everything that's taken place in your life. And then you look back at that person and you go, maybe they're just having a bad day today, or maybe they just didn't feel like getting dressed up there. Maybe they got their own reasons for doing what they're doing. And then you bite your fucking tongue and walk away because you don't have the right to do it. Because we're all human beings going through something in this world together and separately at the same time. We all have something going on. So maybe when you see that person, instead of looking at them and judging them, just say one thing. That's all you got to do. And it might change their perspective. Look at them and say hello. Because
I
usually
love
when you
that.
do that and you see somebody, they look at you and go, hello. And it changes their whole outlook.
Oh
And
yeah.
maybe you did something for them they were not getting anywhere else. And something that it was something that they needed. And maybe you did that for them. And maybe they will pass that on and pass it forward and do it for someone else from now on. It'll change their outlook. It'll change their perspective. It'll change the way that they feel inside. And maybe you just saved them from something else that they were going to do.
Wow. Yeah, I love that so much. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Daniel, for meeting with me today. I want to thank you for providing such great wisdom and insights on this episode. I want to thank the listeners for sticking around to the end. So, Daniel, please, once again, tell everyone where to find your information, and I'll also add it to the description of the video.
Again, you can find me on Facebook at Spirit Medium Daniel Group or Spirit Medium Daniel. You can find me on YouTube at Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson, or even I have some other videos uh, Spirit Medium Daniel. But go on YouTube and find Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson. Like, subscribe, and share those videos, and get them out as much as I can, because I'm trying to get them out as much as I can. And you can also find me. You can find my book on Amazon. Just go in to Amazon and punch in um, Daniel Jackson, A New Beginning, My Awakening as a Spirit Medium. And then again, you can listen to our show as well, Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson on the big stations, Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple. And again, you can go to my main webpage. It's www.beyond-the-veil.com. And you can go on there, and there's all kinds of icons on there that you can either listen to the show or watch the show. But I also do guest spots too. So when you get done with this show and then you finally put it out, you give me the link and I'll take the link and put it on my website for two reasons. One, so people can hear the interview, but two, so they can find another show to listen to, because we're all here to help each other.
Yeah, let's definitely all collaborate. All right. Well, thank you so much. You have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Be good.